Part 2. So these burnt sacrifices are how God will favor us. Everything Christ did lines up perfectly with the law of Moses and the Old Testament Judaism. And it's what God expects from us for a safe society. We have to keep the Gospels and the Torah. Christianity was cut off from the Torah very, very early in our history. They told us it was no longer needed. This was a very big mistake. Christ told us to keep the Torah until heaven and earth passed away. Christ told us that we're expected to keep everything in the Torah until heaven and earth passes away. And if we did, these witches never could have touched us. But once we got away from the Torah, Christianity was diluted. And once we got away from a Christian monarchy, that was it. Then these Illuminati Freemasons came out from under their caves, and they just went after us. And they have not let up ever since. And now we're staring into a civil war. And I got to tell you, whatever happens, we need a Christian theocracy. We need a biblical theocracy if we're going to survive as a people. This is the only way it has ever been successful. We need what King David had combined with what Christ taught, and we will be perfect, just as Christ is perfect. But these Freemasons, they left the borders wide open. There's going to be a lot of dangerous elements. There was a man on the news recently. He had an Arabic accent. He crossed through the border. Some civilian journalist reporter asked him who he was, where he came from. He says, "If you don't know who I am, it's because you're very stupid with an Arabic accent, but you will find out soon." Well, they looked into him. It appears that he was part of an Islamic party in like Bahrain or something. I don't remember the exact country. He was released from prison. He was an Islamic jihadist, released from prison in 2023. Crossed the border. Borders are wide open. Everybody's coming in, getting ready for the civil war. We are just now coming to terms with what others have been planning for a very long time. There was a Islamic jihad compound in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I believe it was. They found starving children there, and they were arrested. It went to court. There was very little media coverage, and I believe the case was dismissed because it was very, very, very embarrassing for very important groups of people. And that's how this works. When important people get caught doing something illegal, it will immediately get swept under the rug. That is because Satan is in control of this country. Satan is not a myth. It's not a joke. They really do worship the devil. The Bible is actually real. The Dead Sea Scrolls give a lot more context to the Bible stories. I highly recommend everybody digs into the Dead Sea Scrolls. The scroll about Melchizedek, which appears to be about Jesus Christ. The book of Enoch, book of Jubilees, all that stuff. Very important information for us to understand. But this is it, The rapture is coming. Read your Bible. Grow strong. Let's start with Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not lack. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me by the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me on paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you, my God, are with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely mercy and righteousness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's the mentality we got to be going with. We need a biblical theocracy. We have to be rooted in the Bible, in our own personal lives, in the government, everything. If we do what the Torah and the Gospels say, everything. Exodus 20. This is the 10 Commandments, and it goes on to say that God expects us to give burnt sacrifices to receive his blessing. Christ gave burnt sacrifices in Luke chapter 2, verse 23. He sacrificed 2 pigeons with Mary and Joseph as a baby, which means he would put his hand on the heads of the animals, and the animals would be sacrificed at the temple. And right after, 2 strangers recognized him as the Messiah. So these burnt sacrifices are very important. All the prophets did it. Christ did it. And we will return to these burnt sacrifices when the 3rd temple is established, as Ezekiel 43 states. It says that Christ is going to live in the temple, and we will consecrate the temple with burnt sacrifices of bulls and goats. I know this sounds crazy to a lot of people. It's what the Bible teaches. The Old Testament has been forgotten. This is a big mistake. Without a good understanding of the Old Testament, you will never be able to understand how these witches have taken over the world. They have always been a threat. Even in the days of Moses, they were hostile to Israel. And so long as Israel kept all of the Torah, they were protected by God. When they started to slack off on the Torah, which happens over and over again, the witches would take over their society. And they have taken over ours today. Read Revelation, read the Gospels, read the prophets, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah. Read Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy is by far one of the most important books in the Bible. It's time. The hour is very late. Get right with God.